I was just walking along the river the other day and noticing how almost imperceptibly the days were slipping into autumn. Some of the sycamore trees along the avenue were yellowing into the color of old book paper, but the maples along the water were already crowned with red gold, which always comes top down as if descending from the skies. And as the days grow shorter and leaves change and the white haze of summer is driven from the skies by this deep blue, poets are finding and have always found in autumn a language for beauty, particularly the transience of beauty. So I thought in this video I would share with you 3 of my favorite autumn poems. The first is a poem by Robert Frost. He was America's most widely read 20th century poet, probably still is. He brought a chaste and classical poise to rural New England landscapes and colloquial speech. And his simple poems often seem deceptively simple, but really they are concerned with some of the deepest questions, the complexities of human experience, particularly those of life and death and diminishment. The poem I want to read to you is called October. And it's essentially a prayer, like Shelley's autumn poem where he addresses the west wind. But this is a prayer really to time, in the liturgy of autumn, we might say. October enters directly into the threshold season when abundance is moving toward loss. And the speaker is pleading that October go slowly. Let the death of the year be gentle and not violent. And the poem opens up with a hushed invocation, as though October were a deity. And here's the poem, as though it's something that could be entreated. Oh, hushed October, morning mild, thy leaves have ripened to the fall. Tomorrow's wind, if it be wild, should waste them all. The crows above the forest call, tomorrow they may form and go. O hushed October morning mild, begin the hours of this day slow. Make the day seem to us less brief. Hearts not averse to being beguiled, beguile us in the way you know. Release one leaf at break of day. At noon, release another leaf. One from our trees, one far away. Retard the sun with gentle mist. Enchant the land with amethyst. Slow, slow, for the grapes' sake, if they were all, whose leaves already are burnt with frost, whose clustered fruit must else be lost, for the grapes' sake along the wall. I love how those lines retard the sun with gentle mist, enchant the land with amethyst. The mist clinging about the tresses of the sun as it passes, trying to keep it, make it stay. Enchant the land with amethyst, with those long lingering New England twilights that you get in, the amethyst being those long lingering purple twilights that you get in New England with its elongated shadows on the ground deepening into the twilight purple. And then that phrase, slow, slow, which makes up a line all into itself, enacting the desire with that long, protracted, repeated vowel, that long O sound, with slow, slow. Ben Jonson does that in one of his lyrics as well, the slow, fresh fount. And Frost is doing it here just beautifully. The speaker is asking, of course, for delay, for the day to be stretched, for the season to be stretched, the leaves one by one to fall, the sun to be veiled in mist in its decline that comes with tenderness rather than violence, as the west wind would have it. The poem's prayer is to learn the art of dying slowly, of yielding with grace. In addition to being addressed to October, it's also a good reminder to cause us to slow down and to notice this passing. The grapes ripen only if time stretches. And likewise, our souls ripen only if they learn to dwell within the mystery of passing rather than rushing past it. Superlative Frost, as always. We need more of that. Next is a birthday poem by Dylan Thomas, Poem in October. Thomas was another modernist poet. His poem here is called Poem in October, written on his 30th year, his birthday. With his musical incantatory style, Thomas often infused modern poetry with a biblical cadence and with a very lush imagery. And we're going to see a lot of lush imagery and sound in the third poem I have lined up. But the absolute brilliance of this poem, like many of Thomas's poems, is to be heard in its rhythms and its protracted syntax. Syntax means grammatical word order, how words fit together to make complete sentences. And Frost's speaker was begging for the protraction of autumn. Here, this poem itself protracts the syntax and gives us a slowness with the grammatical elements themselves. Just listen to these lines, and you have to hear it. It was my 30th year to heaven, woke to my hearing from harbor and neighbor wood, and the mussel pooled and the heron priested shore, the morning beckon with water praying, and call of seagull and rook, and the knock of sailing boats on the net-webbed wall, myself to set foot that second in the still sleeping town, and set forth. My birthday began with the water birds and the birds of the winged trees flying my name above the farms and the white horses as I rose in rainy autumn and walked abroad in a shower of all my days. High tide and the heron dived when I took the road over the border and the gates of the town closed as the town awoke. A spring full of larks and a rolling cloud, and the roadside bushes brimming with whistling blackbirds, and the sun of October, summery on the hill's shoulder. Here were fond climates, and sweet singers suddenly come in the morning, where I wandered and listened to the rain-ringing wind blow cold in the wood far away under me. Pale rain over the dwindling harbor, and over the sea-wet church the size of a snail, with its horns through the mist and the castle brown as owls. But all the gardens of spring and summer were blooming in the tall tales beyond the border and under the lark-full cloud. There I could marvel my birthday away, but the weather turned around. It turned away from the blithe country, and down the other air and the blue altered sky streamed again a wonder of summer with apples, pears, and red currants, and I saw in the turning so clearly a child's forgotten mornings when he walked with his mother through the parables of sunlight and the legends of the green chapels, and twice told fields of infancy, that his tears burned my cheeks, and his heart moved in mine. These were the woods, the river, and sea, where a boy in the listening summer time of the dead whispered the truth of his joy to the trees and the stones and the fish in the tide. And the mystery sang alive still in the water and singing birds. There could I marvel my birthday away, but the weather turned around, and the true joy of the long-dead child sang burning in the sun. It was my 30th year to heaven, stood there then in the summer noon, though the town below lay leaved with October blood. Oh, may my heart's truth still be sung on this high hill in a year's turning. Amazing. I don't know how he does it. It's an impossibly beautiful poem, and you really have to hear it many, many times to just let it sink in. He's a magician of words. This poem dramatizes, in a way, a pilgrimage from the Welsh town of Larne into the hills above the sea, where the poet encounters both the ripening autumnal world of harvest and of death, and the child he once was. And it's interesting, it happens in that burst of summer when the autumn rain is finally driven away, and then the summer sun breaks in upon the shoulder of the hills, and it's then when he begins to find that child again. poem is saturated with October's double aspect, with autumn's double aspect. It celebrates the plenitude of harvest in a way, but it's really the harvest of days here, of time, because the speaker is acknowledging the approach of winter and the approach of death in a way. The Welsh hills become the locus of remembrance, where the adult poet encounters again the past, the summer of his own innocence. And autumn is all about remembering the plenty of the previous year, the previous season of life, in the season of death. And that's Thomas absolutely incredibly on form, as he often is. It's beautiful cadence, as I hope you noticed. Now, the third poem, of course, is John Keats to Autumn. Classic autumn poem. The autumn poem par excellence, in a way. If you were to distill an English autumn into its essence and then channel that essence through experience into language, you would get John Keats's To Autumn. The sound textures of this poem, the rhythms and the cadences, all enact the experience of autumn. It's almost like setting forth, and you can hear the dry leaves crunching in the sounds of this poem. This is a harvest ode, where abundance already bends toward decline, like we've seen so often in these autumn poems. I just want to read this first stanza. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel, to set budding more and still more, later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. Just the first stanza dwells on nature's fertility, the fruit swelling, the gourds filling, the bees drunk with clover, and the honey o'erbrimming their clammy cells. It's just, this is just English at its greatest. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor. Thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind, or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the next swath, and all its twined flowers, and sometimes, like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook, or by a cider press with patient look thou watchest the last oozings, hours by hours. This is, in a way, Virgo's domain, the earth's generosity extended to the brink of excess. Maybe not exactly Virgo, but the goddess of harvest. This second stanza personifies autumn as the goddess figure, really, the half-reaper, half-gleaner, lingering in the fields, resting at the cider press, drowsy, in a way, intoxicated with the drowsed fume of poppies, the last oozings of the apple juice. The hair, love that. How can you get any better, more perfect of a line than thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind? It's just English. It's amazing what these poets can do with English, and that's one of the beautiful things about this. Here, Keats draws upon classical iconography of Ceres, or Demeter, who is this maternal presence of the harvest, and I think that's partly who is informing, I think, this personification of autumn here. Where are the songs of spring? Aye, where are they? Think not of them. Thou hast thy music too, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn among the river sallows, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies. And full-grown lambs loud bleat from the hilly bourne. Hedge crickets sing. And now with treble soft the red-breast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. This last stanza turns to sound, and with it really time. The gnats mourn with wailful choirs, lambs bleat, swallows gather to depart. And the music here in the sound is almost elegiac, yet it completes instead of contradicting the fullness of what came before. And that's what these poems are doing. All three of these poems are about slowing down and noticing what is passing away. Just listen. I mentioned how the cadences of Dylan Thomas's poem is slowing us down. The prayer, the voice itself of Robert Frost's poem is asking us to slow down, to attend, asking October and Autumn herself to go slowly. And then Keats with his diction here, you just can't help but read slowly. Just this phrase, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees. You cannot rush that line. These lines cannot be rushed. And that's partly what I love about all three of these poems, that they are all full of that experience that attends autumn. They are very clearly products of people who have spent a meditative hour or day or several days with autumn. They're very clearly the products of deep meditation, as many poems are. And they have this bittersweet awareness that autumn brings, an awareness of what was and what is passing away, and the gratitude that often attends that awareness. So take these poems with you into the new season, and let me know if you have a favorite autumn poem below in the comments, and we'll see if we can build a collective anthology based on your recommendations too. So thanks for watching, and until next time.